Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on December 10th, 2021 at approximately 4:37 a.m. PST. Sorry about yesterday, things got a little bit hectic. And considering what was going on, it's not really entirely surprising that they did. But, that being said, essentially we're looking at a few things. The world is in a state. And nobody's going to come in and just fix it. And here's why. Now, there's a lot of people out there, a lot of you believe that, in simplest terms, Christ is going to return and he's going to fix all of this. But you got to remember the backbone to that. Okay. If you're of that mindset, okay, God created everybody, whoever you believe in, whether it's God, Allah, whatever. The Creator created everybody and gifted you with free will, freedom of choice. This did not mean He was going to guarantee you that the world would be perfect for you or that He would fix up your mess ups. Think of it like having a kid. Okay, and I'm sure a lot of you understand that side of it. If you have a child and they're not cleaning up their room, if you go in and just straighten it out, they don't learn a thing. They'll put it back in the same mess it's in, which is why society right now is in the state it's in, because people keep waiting for somebody else to straighten it out. It doesn't work that way. In case you hadn't noticed, with the way that the world has gone, if you look at recorded history, and yes, I understand, history can be all lies, all sorts of things that are twisted out of proportion. But take a look at your own life. If you haven't changed the behavior you've been doing, that you've been following, you're going to keep going back through the same path. So, you can either hope somebody else is going to come along and straighten this mess out, or you can get off your tail feathers and do it yourself. The choice is yours. But the consequences are the side effect of your choices. Now, you've got free will. You can do what you will. Okay. But you don't have full control over what the consequences are going to be. Okay. In real easy and polite terms, if you choose to go skydiving, okay, you choose to jump out of a perfectly good aircraft. Okay, that's your choice. You can get out of it. But after you get out of it, you're going to have to deal with the fact that you're no longer in it, and therefore I hope that you took a parachute with you. Because I've only heard of one person that could actually skydive without a parachute, at least in physical form. And that one was actually documented some time ago. But you've got the freedom to choose what you will. Now, do understand, I'm sitting here and I'm choosing to do what I'm doing. Now, have I made perfect choices? Absolutely not. Okay, so do I expect you to believe everything I say? Actually, I'd be scared of you to believe everything I said. But it doesn't change the fact that everything I've said, every tool I've offered you, has been honest, and you're going to have to take my word for that one. It has been the truth. Okay, and any tools that apply to my life, I am using, which is better, in my opinion, better than can be said for a lot of so-called spiritual guides. Now, from your standpoint, you have to look at the three karmic laws. Well, yes, technically you don't have to, but karmic laws are simple. Okay. There's only three of them, and they're the only three that I ever follow. Okay. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Okay. Now, with that in mind, we were given freedom of choice. You have free will. We know this because you take a look at the traffic out there. People are not driving in a static pattern. There are rules of the road. There are guidelines that are laid out. And I'm sure you know somebody that is not following the guidelines. Be it the speed limit, be it the direction you're going on a one-way street or in a one-way parking lot, be it how you park. Okay. There are things you either are doing yourself or you have seen somebody else do them. Okay. With this in mind, it's up to you whether you're going to follow the rules, whether you're going to follow the guidelines. And I know there's a lot of people out there that go, I don't want to follow the rules because the rules don't make sense. Well, I will agree. Many of the rules don't make sense. Okay, so from that end, follow the ones that do. But understand, if you're choosing to ignore the rules, okay, and this is why I go, you must follow the laws of the land in which you are. Now, this also applies to your own home. Okay, if you're going to make rules, make certain they apply to everybody. Now we are getting closer and closer to Christmas. Whether you believe in Christmas or not is not the relevant question. The reality is a staggering number of people do. The other reality that I have seen myself on several occasions is right around this time of year, people tend to seem to try to be a little nicer to each other. If we take a lot of the time, if you're in the malls, if you're in the grocery stores, it may not seem like it. Okay, people are really really short tempered. They're really agitated, the whole 9 yards. Now, here's the funny thing. That too is your choice. Okay, I do implore you to really take a look at the people that are working in these establishments and realize they are doing the best they can. At least, hopefully, they are. At least they're doing the best that they choose to. Now, if they're standing around doing nothing and you're trying to get help, that's one thing. But if you see them running around really busy, okay, understand you're not the only person on the planet. You're not the only person they're dealing with. And it only takes a moment to smile. I've been known multiple times. I'll be walking through an establishment, and don't need the person or anything, but I'll just be walking by the worker, and I'll just simply say, if they're, for instance, organizing shelves, I will simply walk by. If the shelves are neat and they're working at it, I simply say, thank you very much for taking care of that. It's not my job. But I do know for an absolute certainty that they appreciate being told that their work is being noticed, especially if it's by a stranger. I mean, it'd be nice to be by the boss, but it really does make these people's job a little easier. Think how nice it feels to you, whether you're an adult or a kid. It doesn't matter. Don't kid yourself. You're all children. Every one of you, as far as I'm aware, has a parent. Has parents. In the case of humans, you've got a mother and a father. This does not mean you have a mom and a dad. Okay. But everybody is a child of somebody. Okay. Now, with that in mind, okay, we can even go to the oldest people in existence, and even they had a parent. Okay. But it is time for people to really take a look in the mirror, really take a look at the world around you and go, okay, am I content with the way this is? If you're not, doesn't matter how minuscule, how small of a thing it is that you're not content with. It is absolutely imperative that you start modifying the energy. Okay, that you start turning around the effective immediately. And you start altering the negative energy. We've got to turn this around, and it's going to take some time. For those of you in England, okay, there's a neat little ferry. Okay, neat little ocean liner called the QE2. Now, when you see that thing, when you look at it, it's a massive boat. It's just absolutely huge. It takes time to turn it. Okay, we are on a ship called Civilization. It's going to take time to turn the tide and to turn the direction it's going. But frankly, it's not up to somebody else. It's not up to somebody else to notice there's a problem. Take a look at the prices of things. Take a look at the way people treat each other. This does not take a high education to realize there's something wrong. Okay, and with that in mind, it is up to each and every one of us to put the effort in and make the changes. Now, the reality is, if you don't stay focused, you'll end up doing the same thing I did. Keep going back through the same routine. I haven't been paying attention to my health properly. Net result, my weight has gone up. I'm not happy about it, although it's not as bad as I thought it was. Okay. But the fact is, if I don't do something myself, I can wish for all the drop in weight I desire. But the reality is, if you desire something to change in your life, it's up to you to make that change happen. Okay. This is not the time to sit down and hope the world changes or pray the world changes. The world's not going to change if people don't change. I heard it put in a movie one day. It was brilliant, right? Everybody seems to desire, you guys want the world to change. Actually, it was the Age of Ultron, from Marvel, right? The Age of Ultron, the Avengers, the Age of Ultron. And Ultron said it beautifully. You people want the world to change, but you don't want to change yourself. Okay, and ironically, much as that is very accurate in some ways, the word want is a major misnomer. Because what you're telling the universe when you say, I want to do something, what you're actually telling the universe, what it hears, whether it's God, the universe, call it what you will, the energy you're creating is the energy of want. So what gets put out is, I desire to experience a lack of whatever it is you're claiming you want. Net result, you don't get it. Well, that causes the problem of you looking there going, well, how come, I said I want this. I really do. Why am I not getting it? Well, it's because you're wanting to change it, meaning you're asking for it not to change. And yes, I realize that's a little bit of a screwy setup. But it is up to all of us to stand up and say, okay, not happy anymore. Time to change the way it's going. Absolutely critical that it changes the way it's going. But that's up to you. Okay. Like I said, I took a look at it this morning. I was feeling a little off kilter. I was really happy with the fact my blood pressure is still in good shape. You know, but is it exactly perfect? No. But at least my blood pressure is in good shape. So I am actually making headway. And the trick is, when you fall off track, get back on it as soon as you recognize you're off it. Now, I am going to point out something very important here. In my opinion, most of what I talk about is very important, but the thing is, it may not be important to you. There are a lot of you, especially with us going into Christmas. Christmas has been turned into such a staggering, materialistic, hodgepodge of disaster. In my opinion, people have lost the idea of what Christmas is. Christmas is not about the gifts. It's not about the money. It's not about the toys. Okay. Yeah, all those things are fun. It's about the feeling. It's about the connection with people. Now, the reality of it is, from my standpoint, what I've noticed is this: the people that pay attention to family that are paying attention to that, and anything else is just extra trappings. Okay, those are the people that are getting the message that that's where reality is. Now, what I've discovered, like for me, it works out really easily. Okay, as I've mentioned multiple times, I'm rather reclusive. But that being said, I am still going out of my way, in this case, and not really that far, to make certain that the people that are around me realize that they're actually worth something and worth something. This year I turned a lot of my attention where it came to the so-called gift thing. Food is scarce for a lot of people. Now, you can buy electronics, you can buy all these fancy toys, but you're still going to be hungry. So, I take a look back at the issue, and I mean, right now we are on the 10th, so we are only 2 weeks from Christmas here. Okay, with that in mind, okay, I've turned my attention to that neat little practical side of Christmas, or what people would call pragmatic. Yes, the toys are great, right? But the reality is, in many cases, a simple box of food may be all the difference it takes to make somebody's Christmas that much better. Okay. Now, we can talk about, I wouldn't recommend taking fresh food and putting it under, as in vegetables and what have you, or frozen goods. I wouldn't recommend wrapping them up and putting them under the tree. Canned goods and boxed goods work really well. Or something that will make many, many family owners, homeowners happy if you know them. And it's a little on the pricier side. But even for those of you that don't have a lot of money, I mean, it's better if it's homemade. But something, just a thought. If you know somebody that likes cooking, buy them a brand new pan. Okay, you can usually get them for 15, $20, and you don't have to buy the whole sets that are $700. Okay, but I mean, I know in one case, like from my standpoint, you can buy a brand new coffee mug, and coffee drinkers will love them. Of course, anybody that drinks anything will take a coffee mug to put something in it. The thing you got to remember is the practical side of things can be very beneficial and often means more to the people than anything else. Now, sometimes what do? You've got somebody, you don't have a clue what to buy them. I know people that it would be great to buy them books because of one little factor, they like to read. The problem is that's all they like to do, and therefore, they're buying books at a staggering rate. Well, you cannot have a hope of figuring out which books they desire unless you personally turned around and wrote it yourself and know you didn't give it to them and know it's not available. With that in mind, okay, with that side of it in mind, very important from your standpoint that you turn around and realize that, you know, something like that, yes, a gift certificate to a local bookstore is very useful to somebody like that. Okay, again, in my opinion, the food, the stuff that you require to run a household quite often is of much higher value to people than the toys. Okay, we've got to get away from this idea that the cost of something makes it better. Okay, don't get me wrong. I would prefer to have the best of the best, but the reality of it is that, in my opinion, I would like the best of the best. Sad to say, or good to say, I'd prefer not to pay the best, the high price for it. Net result, I give up on a lot of things. Well, I choose not to go after them because they're overpriced in my eyes. Now, take a look at this time of year. This is the time to really take a look and go, I've only got so much money, but a simple letter to somebody you care about can make all the difference in the world. Okay, a simple letter saying thank you for your time this year. Specify a couple of things. It takes you a couple of moments, and you're talking about paper. Okay. Normally, you can in most families, even the poorest of you, have paper. This is not always the case. Okay. But a simple note can make, a simple note, a simple card can make all the difference in the world as far as making a life better. Making it feel a little better. Now, no, Christmas is not the only time you should be doing this, but it does provide a globally recognized, almost globally recognized. I shouldn't say globally because I don't know all the countries out there, but certainly in Canada, the United States, and I suspect England and most of the Western civilizations, or most of the European based ones anyway, many people believe in some form of Christmas. Now, I get a kick out of it because I was looking at it a while ago, and here's a neat little thing. The Jewish people say they don't actually, that they don't pay attention to Christmas, they don't celebrate it. But here's the way I look at it. If you celebrate Christmas, the odds are you spend the day with your family, you have a specific meal. Most people that celebrate Christmas seem to have turkey or ham. But even the ones that don't have a regular meal. This is what I have for Christmas. For Christmas dinner. Okay, and we've got the same setup in my family. Okay, but here's why I brought up the Jewish people. From every Jewish person I've talked to, pretty much, they tell me, no, we don't celebrate Christmas, but they do spend it together. They do have a regular meal. A staggering number of them, apparently, go out for Chinese food. Now, granted, it's not turkey, but they spend it together for the day. They have a regular meal. Okay, and it's a cultural thing. It seems to be, from the people I've talked to, it seems to be that they don't have turkey dinner, they go out and have Chinese food. Now, from my standpoint, you're spending Christmas, you're spending the time together. It's still the Christmas season because that's how it is. Okay, and where Christmas came from, that's not a relevant concern. It's here. Okay, how you got to where you are matters a lot, but only from the standpoint of understanding that. But if you're having a regular, every year, you're having a regular set meal, okay, you're spending time with family, and, you're simply focusing on that. Sad to say, that's what, well, actually, it's not sad to say, but that is what Christmas is about. It is not about this issue of how much money can I spend or how many things can I get. Okay. There are many cartoons that have the same message that come out beautifully. Not the least of which, at this time of year, is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Okay. Yeah, it gives you an idea how old I am. For some reason, the Christmas shows, the cartoons, people have stopped putting them out. I'll tell you, when I was growing up, they were a rather important little part of Christmas. You would sit down, you would watch a Christmas movie as a family, right? And you sit and enjoy it, in front of a tree. Well, we've got our tree, we've got the tree up. We still have to decorate it, but that gets done this weekend. Now, do I go with the idea that you have to have some sort of definitive Christmas tree? No, you really don't. It's a great symbol. I don't honestly know where the symbol came from because it didn't have to do with the whole thing of Christ and what have you. But the Christmas tree does make the home look a little bit more lively. But I've seen people that will decorate their home and make it look really lively throughout the year. At which point the tree becomes an interesting sidetrack. But do what you have to. Again, it boils down to the energy. You bring light into your home. A Christmas tree has this neat tendency of making the room a little lighter. Well, it has something to do with the fact that people are turning around and they're taking the time to decorate the home to make it a little nicer. Now, I get a kick out of the holiday season for this reason. Let's get out the good silverware for the company that we're having. It's an interesting thought, but why not use the good silverware yourself? Why not have silverware that looks really good. So so you feel like you're treating yourself. Remember what I said about this issue of be true to yourself first. Give yourself the treats. Take the time to take care of you. As you can tell, I'm really not that worried about the appearance of me. But many people are. And I will tell you, even for me, a new shirt, well, this is not a new shirt, but a new shirt, something brand new for myself, does feel good. And something I would recommend immediately. Okay, we're in the Christmas season, absolutely. This is not something to start tomorrow. Well, actually, technically it is. On your next payday. Okay. If at all functionally possible, take 1% of your paycheck. That's $1 out of every $100. Put that in your pocket first. That's your money to go out and buy a coffee. That's your money to go out and maybe buy a chocolate bar. Okay. Maybe your thing is that's your money to be able to put money in the Salvation Army's tin. I won't put money in the Salvation Army's tin because the overhead of what they spend means a very small percentage of that money actually goes to the people, from what I gather. Okay. But I do have a way of looking at things where I do agree with that, with the idea of giving. Absolutely. But you take that 1% and put it in your pocket. That's for you. That's mad money. Call it what you will. But that's for you, not for the bills, not for anything else. And here's why. 1%, $1 out of every 100. $5 out of a $500 check is not going to have, likelihood, any major impact on your ability to pay your bills. But what it will do is it will change the feel of your income from I'm working to pay my bills to I'm working and paying my bills. Don't take my word for it. Give it a shot and see what happens. Now, that said, I'm going to wrap this up because I got a whole pile of things I got to get done here, and so do you. I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.